Forgiveness has the most extraordinary impact in that it opens up the psyche. It is actually probably the most selfish, powerful gift and ability you can develop in yourself because it looks like this. Let me show you what happens when, what you look like when I do a reading. I think I'll do this on too because then you can't see it underneath it. Okay, there we go. When I do a reading on people, this is what you look like. Here we begin. This is your auric field. And when you're born, of course, you have, as I said this morning, all these circuits of energy coming in through the top of your head. When I do a reading on you, what I'm doing is I'm tracking your circuits. Now this is your birthday, the day you popped into the world. Okay, let me do it. Let me put a miniature here of the chakra lineup. Okay, so sophisticated. All right, here we'll do Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. We'll do this upside down because I want to show you both. I start looking for, when you're born, your family, imagine that these are your circuits of power. Think of it as divine power because that's exactly what it is. Your job is to invest these circuits in beliefs, relationships, people, events, all of that you invest your soul in. Think of what that means. When you invest your soul, it is giving over your life force to participate in keeping alive a thought form, a life process, something, a memory. You're actually taking your soul and, like the book of Genesis, breathing your life into earth to keep it alive. You are actually participating in the fundamental of spiritual alchemy. That's exactly what you're doing. It is basic spiritual alchemy. Now, when you're a baby, little Bubba, your tribe, your first chakra receives you, but you are not old enough to decide what thoughts you're going to plug your circuits into. So your tribe does that for you. So your first chakra, they plug you into, thank you, they plug you into the tribe's religious beliefs, the tribe's social beliefs, the tribe's ethnic beliefs and history. The tribe is plugging you in for you, okay? So by the time you go from child consciousness to an early puberty, coming to puberty, you are totally shaped. Not only do they invest your energy into what they believe in their traditions, they invest it into TWs, which are tribal wounds, TVs, tribal values, and then to social issues, SIs, such as family belief systems. Here's family belief systems. How many of you grew up being told in any way, shape, or form that illness runs in your family? That illness runs in your family in any way, shape, or form. Were you told that? And were you told what type of illness? Heart, this, that, and the other? Were any of you told that? Okay. Now, what that means is that part of your circuits were actually plugged in to the illness runs in the family school of charm. And it means your life force is running through you and going into that belief, giving it life, meaning that it pays a dividend, so that that belief turns around and comes back into your system because you make an investment and an investment pays a dividend. You see what I'm saying? Just like if you invest in any other social thought, which is it's better to be thin than fat. Any one of you invested in that? Okay. Or any other social thought that you know if we took each other aside and sat down on a nice spiritual day, we could get comfortable and say, oh, who needs that social stuff, and create an atmosphere of spiritual ascension in which we can lift ourselves out of the weight of physical illusion, climb up here, and with each one of these chakras, and I'm going to talk to that about in a minute because it's so intriguing, you are shifting time zones. So that by the time you're up here, you're literally in no time. You are fully in present time. And in fully in present time, those beliefs about time, weight, age, life, weight, have no value at all, because you are in present time and you're in a state of spiritual euphoria. And all of that looks like is physical, meaningless illusion. Okay? However, then you wake up and you have to climb back down the stairs and enter into the world of dense matter and energy. And your mood shifts. It's phenomenal. So when I start doing readings on someone, what stands out is your unfinished business, which is always things you have yet to forgive or resolve. This is the great killer. It is the great killer. And so we go through, and you know, always issues from childhood come up, and then there's unresolved relationships other than parent and child, and then there's the stuffology corner. Stuff you had, wish you had, where is it? God, is there more stuff? God, where is my stuff? God, is my stuff sleeping with someone else's stuff? Stuff, and stuff. Okay. And then there's the issues around objects of desire. We can go right on down the line, but then there's issues of jealousy, hatred, vengeance. Those are fun. And then there's issues of low self-esteem. That's always fun. But at the end of the day, if we talked about it in terms of 100 pounds a day of energy, do you understand that most people are operating on a 5-pound a day budget? That most of your life has been invested in every other place but now. And that if you think that you are, you know, like your bodies are sitting in front of me right now, but do you know that the vast majority of you is non-local? It's any place other than here. You might be scanning your home front, thinking about this, worrying about that, dealing with this, wondering about this, but you're not here. And I'm not taking it personally, mind you, but I'm telling you about the management of time and space and how incredibly challenging it is to remain and be in present time. And that forgiveness is the perhaps strongest discipline, the strongest consciousness to live in. We have difficulty because we lack the vocabulary we need now to talk about the world we're talking about. We don't have the words to talk about where we're going. But what I'm trying to say is that living in that consciousness of, here, there is never anything to forgive. Try that one out. That I'm always living in that consciousness that there's never anything really to forgive because I'm living in the recognition of illusion constantly. Therefore, what is there to forgive? If I have to forgive something, then I've slipped up. Then I've slipped up. Because I've given part of my spirit over to something, and I wanted it to be something other than what it is. And now I'm angry that it didn't work out the way I wanted it to be. So now I have to forgive somebody, but it's because I slipped up. Do you see what I'm saying? Am I making sense, or should I say it again? Okay. So here, let's talk about the reasons why people are afraid to forgive, and let's go into this. How many of you have unfinished business with your childhood? Who would admit it now? Okay, why? Tell me why you have unfinished business with your childhood. First of all, tell me, yes, let's start with why. Someone, I want a victim. Take me, take me. Remember, no history, get to the point.
Okay, headmaster gave me a hard time at puberty, at school, boys' school.
And?
Whenever I see his photograph, I feel sort of a problem still.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, now, next question. And you know what? It's really gracious of you to share this. I have to tell you that because that ain't small things. You know what I'm saying? So well done, you. But nevertheless. The next is, when you think about it, what benefit do you have holding on to that? Because you must get some street currency out of it.
Yeah, I've decided in the last 6 months to make an effort to forgive him because he had a good reason for doing that, I guess. All he did was he just scared the hell out of me about the whole issue around sex stuff.
Uh-huh.
So that was all it was, really. But the reason why I had trouble forgiving him was I didn't realize had the power to forgive him. I didn't realize I was in control of this.
Did you use your wound in any way? Did you get any mileage out of it?
Yes, feeling sorry for myself.
Yes, what?
Feeling sorry for myself.
Oh, good. Now, see, this is what I want. You know, I'm not interested in any of the spiritual, I didn't know I had it in myself, yada, yada, yada. What's really important to notice is why you don't want to forgive. We all know, let's get through the reasons. We didn't know we had it in ourselves. We didn't know we had the powers. All right, we've all just said that. Let's shove it aside. The real grit that you want to go after is, what is it in me? Am I vengeful? Do I want to smash someone's face in the dirt? What is it in me that will not allow me to call that spirit of mine back? Because the bottom line is, it's killing me, and I'm not changing. And even in the face of bleeding to death and everything else, I'm still not changing. So, what was the reason?
Of not forgiving him?
No, of not inviting him to dinner. Yeah.
Yes, I could now invite him to dinner.
Yeah.
I could do it. And I have made progress in that direction. And I've had a vision, a feeling that he came swimming towards me as a fish. I don't understand it.
You're great. You're great.
Thank you.
Okay. Someone else. I want someone else who is holding on to a childhood wound. Anybody? Who else is holding on to childhood wounds? Wait. All right. Go.
Yeah, okay. For me, it's still... Should I stand up?
I'm sorry?
Should I stand up?
Whatever's comfortable, darling.
Yeah, for me, it's... I now realize the kind of thoughts that I have, but whenever I'm with my parents, everything is just the same way as it's always been. And it may come from my feeling that if I try to change my behavior, I hurt them.
If you change your behavior, you hurt
because
them.
every time I have tried to change my behavior in a way that makes me feel really good, then I realize how much I hurt them, and they make me swear never to do this again to them.
Oh, yummy. Okay, let me show you something. And this is true, this is true, this is the way it is, this is an archetype. Remember I said this morning, there's such a thing as an act of necessity? Okay. Imagine that you are about to incarnate and you chat with me, the one who is going to work with you to give you your contract that you're going to accept, and I'm going to talk to you about that which is necessary, the level of choice you have, and acts of compassion that will come into your life. All three. So you have, here's the team: necessity, choice, and compassion. This is the triplets that you want to pay attention to in your life. The task is that you need to move from, everybody shares the contract of needing to move from being part of the tribal mind to becoming a self, an I. That's the only way we're going to get through being a tribal planet, is this evolution of one person after another out of thinking the way their tribe does. That's the only way. That's it, that I can think of. Because I can't imagine anyone inventing global Prozac. But anyway, you move out. And so one of the acts of necessity that is often that often has to happen is that a person has to incarnate into a tribe they don't fit in. Now, let us go into the fairy tale world for a minute. And we make certain contracts with certain stories, with certain archetypes before we're born. You make a contract. One of the contracts, one of the archetypes that is ever so present in people that I see is the archetype of the orphan. The people who feel abandoned, weren't there, feel so awful, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. When in fact, if you look at all of the great contributing stories of myths of power, great power of transformation, they've come through orphans. Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and Bambi, and The Little Mermaid, and Hansel and Gretel, and go on right on down the list. They come through orphans. The orphan is an exquisitely popular and powerful archetype. It is not one to be mourned, nor to feel badly about. Part of being an orphan is you have to have parents that allow you to be an orphan. Do you understand the gift they're giving you, little girl? All right. In fact, you should go up to them and say, oh my God, I love you for rejecting me. You couldn't do me a bigger favor. Oh God, thank you. Because that is the gift they give you. You see, and it works like this in the contract. Now, this is something, I've got to get off this page for a minute. I've got to get off this page because, as you can see, all of you are going to get to the point where you can't read it. This is the level of archetypes. This is where your contract is, your sacred contract. This is where your sense of self develops. This is where your global mind, your group mind is. This is where your acts of necessity, your power of choice, we'll put choice here, and acts of compassion exist constantly surrounding you in your life that get drawn in. Your, every single time, what happens is when it's time for an act of necessity to occur, your physical world will magnetically create a circumstance, a setting, a stage, as Shakespeare would say, sacred theater, in which we're going to have to open the doors and get some air in here. It's getting hot. We need some breathing space. In which people and characters are brought together and a power is acted out. And the whole point of the power is going to be based on one of the myths you're living. You can track it to one of your myths. How you play out, and this is what's so intriguing. Here's the power of choice. How you play out the power of your personal choice is going to determine the end of that archetype. If you can't forgive and allow the challenge that that archetype represents, if you cannot transcend the challenge of the archetype, then its consequences will take over the next stage of your life. If, however, you can write your own scripted ending to that, you've transformed a phenomenal part of your life. Am I making sense to you? Let me give you an example. This is the subject of my next book. I have to jot down something I want to tell you. And in this, I have collected over 1,000 stories from people who deal with myths and their own stories and how they relate to what fairy tales. If Peter Pan was an orphan, I mean, we can go right on down the line. And this woman writes to me about her story, and she said, and she didn't even realize what she was telling me, which is often the case. You don't even realize that you are Cinderella waiting for a prince, or that you are perhaps someone like the Little Mermaid, or that you are wanting to be someone living on a different plane of life because you find your zone absolutely unsupported. But this woman writes to me and says that She grew up in a very wealthy family, and now it's time to have the will. Her parents die, and her brother is the executor of the will. They're going through the will, and he tells her that she's not eligible for anything because she's an orphan, and she may as well find that out now. Well, she turns around and hires a lawyer to challenge him, and in going through the papers finds out that he's an orphan, but he didn't know it. And because he had made it a family rule that orphans can't get the money, he wrote both of them out of it. And the next level of relatives came up because these two could now not inherit any money per his own lawmaking script. Okay? Is that not hilarious? And I mean, talk about what O. Henry would call a funny ending. But anyway, what ended up was that caused these two people to come together and band together to fight the family. And what we have here is Hansel and Gretel. And they were indeed two orphans. And the whole journey of their lives is playing out. Now, the thing is, to look here at forgiveness is that in our lives, we're going to have these acts of necessity happen continually through our lives, continually. And one of the wisest gifts and most powerful abilities we can learn is to interpret our lives from a symbolic point of view so that we can read the archetypal dynamics that we're involved in and then bring them back down to the physical world, which would make forgiveness a day at the beach. Okay? And it works like this. And this is why, you know, when the teachers and great spiritual teachers say things are illusion, my God, they are illusion. I mean, it's just like you and your parents with sure, at the physical level, they have to notice that you're not like them. What else do you want? But it's your job, yours. If I tell you, this is what's going on. You've got a contract with the orphan archetype. They're supposed to do that. How will that now change your behavior? Because look at this. Watch this, guys. Here I give you get yourself a jewel of perception. J-O-P. A jewel of perception. That's got to make its way all the way down to the physical world. Literally, it has to follow this map. This is the map. So the first place it's going to go is here into your 7th chakra, which is your grace bank account. And that little jewel of perception, ooh, it feels good. It's an ecstatic feeling. The next thing you know, it pops into the mind. And your mind says, oh, I love the thought of that. Those thoughts, they feel good, they feel good, they feel great. But now, take a look clearly. At this point, it hasn't cost you anything. No part of your life has to change. You don't have to speak differently. You have yet to make any different choices. It doesn't have to hit your heart. Nothing in your physical life has to change. So at this point, a sweet and powerful perception is wonderful, but it hasn't cost you anything, so you can afford to have a zillion of them. You can go, and this is what is true. I watch people transform themselves all the time. You know how they do it? They go to a New Age bookstore. And what they do is they buy books and put a whole new 6th chakra vocabulary in their head. But they do their best, and they take workshops to prevent the information from downloading, even though it looks like they're trying to heal themselves. I don't know to whom I might be speaking. But the reality is you're doing everything to not heal yourself, because from the shadow, you are looking for all the more reasons you need to process something. You are looking for reasons to keep yourself in process. Because that's what's true. Oh, look, and then I learned more about babies who weren't held upside down, and I wasn't one of them. And then I learned about babies who weren't fed, and I wasn't one of them. I've got to go process that. And here's a therapist who specializes in babies who should have eaten oatmeal. I mean, all right. So And I say again, with all due respect to therapists, half my family should be in therapy, but we also have to develop a backbone. Do you understand what I'm saying? We've given ourselves wishbones, and we don't have any backbones anymore. We wish we had perfect lives. We wish we had perfect families. Well, guess what? Wake up and give yourself a backbone, which is, I can take anything. I can take anything. We've become a species that's afraid to live and afraid to die. I mean, we've got to become strong. But anyway, so you get, the thing is, now I'm going to push that perception. What's your name, darling?
Katerina?
Katerina?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to push that little jewel of perception that your parents had to be that way and you had to be the orphan into your fifth chakra, which is now what different choices will you make, knowing what you know. Because now, gang, the ground is going to begin to shift beneath your feet, because now you're going to start rumbles from taking a perception you have about something. Now you have to answer the question. This is remapping your interior. You have to take that and begin to incarnate it, and you've got to recognize if it's going to change here, I have to be willing to make different choices. Now that I know something different, I have to be able to act on it, and action begins with speaking. So, choice. So go ahead. You've only got 2 seconds, so don't sit there and thinking like we've got forever.
Okay, at least that choice just kind of came. I don't know even if it's a choice, but that I kind of honor my parents more now. I mean, the honoring of them has come and gone, but right now I feel more empowered in myself. I honor myself more and I honor my parents more, and I hope that I'm going to be able to live that the next time I'm together with them under the same roof.
Okay, now let's go down. Now you've got to move it into your heart, because you see it still hasn't cost you anything, because we're still in La La Land.
I'm still very afraid of hurting them by any change in myself that I make.
All right, this is still in La La Land. Okay, so you just spoke fourth chakra. Did you hear her automatically? I didn't even tell her about it. I'm afraid of hurting it. She's taken the thought, moved it, and says, I'm afraid of hurting them. But now we're going to move them. Now here it hits the physical world. Once a perceptual jewel hits these issues, it's coming in. It's coming in. And it hits your third chakra, which is the chakra of personal behavior, personal attitude, the self. Now, how are you going to walk in? All of a sudden you're in the same, this is the physical world. This is the energetic world. Here you can be with your parents energetically any place in the world. This is the physical world. You can't hug your parents with the sixth chakra. You can hug them all the time in the mind. Here, you want to put your arms around them. Now, from this point of view, you walk in the room, they're there, and what changes in your behavior? Knowing you have a different perception, that you have a contract with them to play out just the way it's playing out. What would you do differently?
I would sorry.
Take a deep breath, cry later. We've got to work.
Yeah. I will not necessarily say anything, but I will check how I react to what I will notice when they say something that is totally their business and not mine at all. And I will respect them for what they do, but then allow them to see me and react in the way that I feel is...
Watch this. Thank you. Good girl. But I'm not done. Look. What happens is this. It's so amazing. We are so amazing. You can count on the way we are. You can set your clock by it. Now at the third chakra, you're going to notice their third chakra too, which is their behavior versus your behavior versus their, am I going to honor them? This is chakra of honor, respect, honor, respect. At a distance, it's okay, but we drop to the second. This is the war zone, gang. The second chakra is the chakra of control and who's in charge of the home front. This is where if daggers are going to start flying, it's as soon as that jewel of perception hits this one. This is when it matters whether or not you can hold a higher perception symbolically, or whether or not you are going to jump right back into that illusion. I can tell you at breakfast that you're an orphan archetype and you're dealing with a Hansel and Gretel situation, and that it had to be, and therefore you had to get lost in the woods, and you have to find your way back home, and there will be a witch, and you will be a witch. What if I had you before and said, all right, darlings, I'm going to show you your contract. In your contract, you have 12 fundamental archetypal patterns, which, by the way, you do. And I walk you through them. And I say to you, I'll tell you one of your major ones is you have Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Do we know the story of The Wizard of Oz? Say, who doesn't know Dorothy? All right, Dorothy is someone who gets lost because of a tornado, and she ends up in this little town called Oz. And, oh, how I wish I could tell you the whole story. And the house is the self. And if I said to you, I recognize that you have a contract with Dorothy, so let me tell you what's going to happen to you. And I took you and said, look, this is how the contract's going to play out. You're going to have a tornado come to your life, big change, big chaos. And you want to go backwards, and you're going to want to protect yourself, and you're going to go back to your family, but guess what? They're not going to be there to help you. They'll be locked away. Bang, bang, Auntie M, let me in. It's not going to happen. So she runs, Dorothy runs into her house to be safe, and the tornado whisks her up and takes her away, and she's got her dog, Toto, and they land in Oz. Where do they land? On a witch. On a witch in what? A poppy field, heroin in an altered state. She has now officially entered a drug-altered state, an altered state of consciousness. If I said to you, that's what's going to happen to you. Some part of your life, during this state of chaos, you're going to destroy a part of your psyche that is your dark witch, a dark demon. It's in you. It's not there, because the house is you. And the next step, and you will, in the process, think you've all entered an altered state of consciousness, the poppies. Okay? So she comes out and she says, Toto, what is this? And out comes the witch. And the witch says, oh, little girl, I want that dog, and you did this, and I'm going to, she's throwing things, and Dorothy grabs her dog and says, no, no, no. And she's scared. She doesn't know. She says, Toto, where are we? Latin, Toto, means everything. So it means everything you need will be with you at every step along the way. Okay? If I said to that in a contract and said, look, you're guaranteed everything you need. We're dealing with the law of compassion. You're under contract. It will happen that way. Imagine if you really knew this. And the point of Dorothy, to make it very brief, oh, and it's such a rich story that I could tell you. Oh, God, I love this story archetypally. She has to go on this yellow brick road to find the wizard in order for the wizard to help her get home. The yellow brick road is the journey to the self. She's got to get courage. She's got to get a brain. She's got to get a heart and the courage to make the right choices. This is the yellow brick road. Okay? And it's so exquisite. I mean, the whole journey is so exquisite. And if you knew you were Dorothy, and I said to you, look, you got to meet a witch, you have to be captured, you're going to be frightened, you have to walk this road by yourself, it's going to feel like a dark night of the soul, but every step of the way you'll get one test at a time, then you'll recognize you're on your interior in this yellow brick, on the yellow brick road, and et cetera, et cetera. Why would you be frightened and hate the people who are going to meet and help you along the way? Why then would it be difficult to forgive you, especially if I told you this? Now pay attention to me, and I told you this. Here sitteth your power. Fourth chakra. Right here, I've got you standing between the mythic world where I've just told you, you're Dorothy, you're going to be uprooted in a cyclone, you're going to have a journey by yourself through here. Your aunt and uncle did not save you when the chaos came. Your family was not there to take you in. You were orphaned and had to fight this on your own. So, but if you knew this was coming, how could you hate them for playing their role? So I've got you all centered in the myth. And I'm going to tell you, if you live the power of the myth, and you keep your eye on the fact that they're under contract to live the myth with you, then there's nothing to forgive when they close the trap door and you can't get in when the tornado starts, because that's the way the myth is written. But if over here you can't forgive them for not letting you in, then the myth will take a different outcome. And the shadow characters, the dark witches, etc., will have much more authority in how your life unwinds than you do. And you'll have to relive it again. Does that make any sense to you? Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Question runners? Anybody? Yeah? Wait a minute. Wait for a mic.
You told the story, but you didn't mention the protection of the ruby slippers, which she was given in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Goes around.
The ruby slipper is very much the protection of, and of course, ruby is heart color. So it's always the compassion of the heart. It's always the fourth chakra. You see, you can, if you look at this map, this is the one, this is the point, which determines every single vibration in the life. One of the reasons we're so terrified to forgive is because it changes our time and space paradigm. With every chakra, as it moves up our body, our vibration of time and space changes to the archetypal plane where there isn't any, okay? When we get to the fourth chakra, this world, our first, second, and third, runs on linear time, one day after another, after another, after another, after another. This is the world of chemical medicine where the little bottles of medicine says take for 7 days and in 3 weeks you should be well. Where they take, isn't that amazing? Where they take medicine and they breathe time into it. That's a genuine alchemical formula, but of course, go ahead and tell them that, right? But isn't that what they're doing, right? So here, what happens is when you get to the fourth chakra, and an act of forgiveness, forgiveness alters time and space for you. And because you shift from being in linear time to being in simultaneous time. And what happens is all of the anchors you have in your past snap backwards, snap fast, and you come into a world where all of a sudden the morals, the issues, even the wardrobe you had that came from the morning unforgiving days is gone. And your life changes very rapidly. And it's so rapidly that a lot of people can't handle the speed of change when it comes that fast. And another thing I've seen people do is they're afraid to forgive because of they're afraid God will give them something else to forgive if they forgive this. Mm-hmm. Do you know? No, it's really true. It's really true. I'm not kidding you. People are like that. They'll say, I'm not done forgiving this, so you can't give me anything else to bear. And how many of you have that one? How many of you have that one? Right? That's one of the most common superstitions I have ever seen in my life, ever. Okay, how many of you have things to forgive from from the relationship department? Relationships, friendships, relationships. Anybody? Okay, so can I pick a victim to talk to? Can I pick someone? Well, I'll go up. I'll be right. You know what? I'll visit you in a minute. But I'm going to talk to that gentleman up there. What's your name, sir?
It's Chris.
Chris?
Chris.
Okay, Chris. So, can we ask in a brief 15 seconds what happened? Not that it's important.
My wife and I have had relation difficulties for a long time. And I left the relationship a number of times, and on one occasion, she decided she would have another relationship with someone else without my permission,
What?
so to speak. That's how
I
it's-
think we've
yeah.
gone as far as we need to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it seemed to me at the time. You know, she needed my permission. And anyway, I just went, I just didn't know what had happened to me.
Yeah.
This was a completely new experience.
Okay. Now, Chris. All right, guys, I'm asking all of you this question.